Let's learn how to create quizzes. We'll go up here and select Create a Quiz. As with activities, quizzes are going to be aligned to one or more targets. We'll start with that by going to the Add Target button over here. And we'll be taken to our target browser where we select a content area. And here we have access to all the familiar target browser tools that we've learned about. We can view the needs of our students, we could do keyword searches, we could look at rubrics, and once we've decided what standards we're going to align to, we can just check the checkboxes there and hit Save and Close. And now we see those targets that we chose up in the target box in our quiz. And the next thing to do is to assign the MAS, or Maximum Achievable Score. They're going to be set to Proficient, or 3 by default, and we can change that if we want to. Maybe in this one we're only going to learn vocabulary, it's lower rigor. And we can eliminate any of those by hitting the X. As in activities, we can go over here and change the title of our quiz. And by clicking on the icon here, we can change that image. We can select anything from our hard drive that we have. Whether it's relevant or not, that's up to you. We can drag that box until we get the image that we like. Finished. And there we go, that's a little more attractive. Moving down here, we're going to set out really kind of the nature of this quiz before we get into adding any questions. The type of quiz here offers us several options. These are really just for categorizing. They don't really change the way the quiz functions, with the exception of the dynamic quiz. A dynamic quiz is going to draw questions from our question bank, which we'll learn more about in a minute, and it's going to automatically create a quiz that's aligned to the learning targets we've selected. Next, how do we want this to be scored? If we select practice, the scores will not be recorded at all. If we select evidence only, the scores will be recorded as evidence scores. That means they will not appear on the report card, but they can be used as evidence when we make our decision about whether or not a student is proficient. Or we could score it as verification evidence, in which case the scores they receive on this quiz will go into the grading spreadsheet, will be their overall proficiency scores, and will reflect on their report cards. Now, how do we want the student to see the results after they're finished taking the quiz? A finish statement would just say basically, congratulations, you're done, thank you. We could also show the student their score, or we could show them more detailed results along with even rationale to explain to them why they did or didn't get the answers. We can set in a time limit here in minutes, which will give the students only a certain amount of time to complete this quiz, at which point Empower will shut them out. And we could randomize the order if we wanted to. It'll take the questions that we create, but each student will see it in a random order. That'll help us throw a wrench at the schemes of those cheaters. Now, time to type the quiz description. This might be instructions to the student or a little encouragement to do your best. Now take note of the button here, See Student View. Let's click that in a minute, but first let's add a question so that when we see it, we'll be able to see what the question looks like as well. Should be obvious to you what this button is for. Now, Empower supports several different types of questions, which you can see here. The first 4 are lower rigor, and Empower can actually auto-score these for you. And the last 2, essay and drawing, of course, are going to need a human to take care of those. So depending on which type of question we pick, Empower is going to change the form a little bit. Let's just start with multiple choice single answer. Publisher, if you want to give yourself some credit there. How many points is this worth? Is there copywritten material in the question? Do you want to add this question to the question bank so that other teachers, when they create a dynamic quiz, can draw on this question based on the learning target to automatically create quizzes for their students? And an important step here, each of these questions is going to be aligned to just one learning target. There's the 3 that we selected, and I can pick one of those. And now it's time to type the question and put in a few answers. And there may be fields that we don't want. By scrolling over that, we can delete it. If we did want to add even more, we could just hit the Add button. And we want to make sure that we set the correct answer by clicking this button. And then since we selected to show the rationale at the end of our quiz, we have the option to put an explanation here. And maybe even a citation. So one question down, we see one question there. Let's check out the student view. This is what a quiz will look like to a student. We see the name of our quiz, our description, And there's our first question. We can add another question. And we won't belabor this video by going through each question type. They're pretty self-explanatory for the most part. But to add more questions, just hit Add New Question and repeat the process. If you want to go back and keep working on a previous question, you can mouse over these numbers here and get a quick view of what the questions are like. And clicking that is going to open the editor for that question again. Once it's all done, remember that it's auto-saved, so you can search for it later in your database if you want to. If you don't want it to end up in the database, hit the delete button. If you do want it to be in the database and want it to be accessible to other teachers or students, hit the share button. Make sure you decide which roles can access this. And if you want other people to be able to edit it with you, just start typing their name, same as with activities. And save those changes. To assign this out to your class, the same as with activities, hit the Assign button. You can either assign the original, in which case any changes that are made in the future on the original will be reflected in what's assigned, or you can assign a copy, which will allow you to tweak that particular copy, and we'll also assign this as a frozen snapshot with how it stands now. Otherwise, just click whoever you want to assign it to, and they have it. To remove them, just hit the X. That pretty much does it for quizzes, so we'll see you in the next video.